Hey everybody, we are back with another What Sold video. I am talking about what we sold in our online shops from January 8th through the 14th. And we sold a lot of items that were in our profit pile, which is awesome. So a lot of the items were in that video that Mr. Pish Posh and I did about our profit pile, our winter clothing profit pile. And we just, tried to work hard to get some of those things listed, and a lot of them sold fairly quickly. So I am so glad we ended up doing that. Anyway, we're starting with eBay and a pair of vintage booty socks. Anyway, that's just funny. This is the type of vintage I like to pick up. I don't know. They're just kind of random and they're new in package. I love looking at the old packaging, the old pricing, the old price tags. I always leave old vintage price tags on because it kind of gives a definite validity to the fact that your item is vintage. So it doesn't matter that, I'm asking $25 and this originally was like 79 cents or possibly even less if that red sticker was a sale. Sorry, I'm just looking for my actual sold prices. Anyway, I am doing another What Sold video. I know the last video I uploaded was also a What Sold, but I have been sick. And so the boys did pass their cred on to me. And they are slowly getting better. And mine is like, I thought it was not a big deal, but it's like good and bad and good and bad. And it's just the weirdest thing I've ever had. So I kind of wanted to feel a little bit better before I've been working on another video, but I wanted to feel a little bit better before I recorded and such. So anyway, they're called Peds booty socks, made in the USA, Orlon acrylic. They're kind of just like no-show socks type of thing. And they sold for $22.49. So I think it was just a 10% offer I sent out to somebody. And those had been listed a little while, probably a few months, like in the fall. Then we sold another hat. This actually sold for $15.50. I think we sent an offer, got a counter offer, and took it. I think I was telling you that Mr. Pish Posh started to get a little antsy about our inventory of hats until we kind of, realize that you sometimes just, if you're going to specialize in something, which it turns out we've been selling a lot of hats, that you're going to have an inventory of hats. You're not going to sell every hat immediately. So, but we were, we tend to price our hats a little bit higher to begin with. And so even we source them super cheap. And so we're working on either starting off pricing them a little bit lower or just accepting, kind of whatever offer comes through. So $15.50 on that one. Next up was this Pendleton blazer. It had some issues. As you can see, our starting price was $35, which is not very high, but it did have moth holes and things like that throughout it. But, it's Pendleton and it's Western wear. And so it sold for $25. So someone still wanted to rock that look. And without flaws, it would have been much higher. And then we sold a scarf. We are discovering, I was just talking to Mr. Pish Posh, this kind of goes along with our goals video that we did, and we're still kind of working things out and kind of changing up and, seeing how things would work. And we realized that we sell a lot of accessories. And I just said to him one morning, I said, I would love it if we just focused on accessories. Maybe go ahead and pick up the clothing items that are big money, right? But just doing bread and butter shirts or skirts or pants, I'm like, they're so much more labor intensive, right? I mean, they're not hard to ship or anything like that, but hats are fairly easy to list. Scarves are easy to list, we do a lot of accessories anyway. It would be awesome to focus on that, focus on patterns, focus on jewelry, focus on flatware, and let's cut down the shipping time that Mr. Pish Posh has to do for an individual item. And anyway, the wheels, they are still a turning. This one is a scarf. It's called cashmink. So not real cashmere or anything like that, but made, I think it was made in West Germany, if I remember correctly. And nope, just Germany, not West Germany. But we sold that one for $15.29. And the other nice thing about accessories is that they are not priced super high, usually at estate sales and thrift stores and garage sales and things like that. Anyway, more food for thought. Okay, so I've been digging in the patterns, and I do have some antique patterns that I was kind of playing around with one day. I felt like tackling because the pattern pieces in, I've talked about this in my what sold videos or in my pattern videos. This one is an unusual old pattern that actually is printed on the tissue paper, but a lot of the older patterns have, there's no printing on. They're already cut, but they're, you kind of have to make sure all the pieces are there. And this one was a little bit trickier because the little diagram on the back, like half the diagram was on the right side and half on the left. And I was like, I think all the pieces are there. I think I got them all accounted for. So it's a little tricky. So I decided to just kind of do a price that people would be happy with, right? And I did $18.99. The condition of the envelope was pretty rough. And, that doesn't matter so much in such an old pattern, but there are still older patterns that are in good condition that I would definitely price a bit higher. And it worked because I did this for $18.99 and it sold very quickly. Let's just keep things moving. I did list another one. See, I listed another one that was like a blouse, and I think it was just a little bit more unusual. And so I thought, why don't I go ahead and, price it up a little higher? And I did like $25 and it's still sitting there. So you kind of want to, we're both, Mr. Pish Posh and I are trying to work on, our pricing. For so long, we've done the price high and send offers and blah, blah, blah. That just takes a while. And so we're kind of trying to rein in our pricing, especially with the economy right now, to be kind of like a price where people look at it and don't have to like, oh, should I spend that? They just go ahead and do it. And I think we would increase the volume of our sales. What do you guys think? What's your pricing strategy? Let me know in the comment down below. We kind of, I'm not talking about our really, really good stuff. Like I will sit on, if something is really good and I have the comps to back it up, I will wait. But I'm just talking about like the everyday kind of stuff. This coffee mug sold for $15. I've had this in a profit pile. Oh my goodness. I've had it in a bin forever. I love restaurant wear. I love like holding it. I think it's so pretty. I will say most restaurant wear sells best if there's what's called a top mark, where there's like an advertisement, or if it was used at a hospital or a restaurant or a, some kind of place, right? Has their logo, has their name on it. Those are going to sell much, much better. So we were kind of like, Mr. Pish Posh listed this and he was like, yeah, I don't know, $15 because there's no top mark. And those are the ones that are selling. But somebody wanted it very, within a day or two for $15. And honestly, I would use restaurant wear coffee mugs myself, like a diner mug, but they don't hold enough coffee. They only hold like 8 ounces. Like, I don't know. I need at least 10. Okay, to 12. Oh, I forgot to ask Mr. Pish Posh about this one and where he found it. But anyway, it is a cast aluminum folding ruler. I can't remember if this was just something he had or if I had picked up a few little things like this at the bins at our clearance store lately. Forgot to ask him about that, but in any case, it was a good price. It was $39.99. Cast aluminum folding ruler. Pair of Ulukai women's shoes. These have been listed a while. Probably not the most popular style. They sold for $25, and I did get a message from the buyer when they got them. They asked if we had washed and dried them. And I just said that we hand washed them, but we air dried them. And they said, oh, okay, they were just a little more tight than they were used to. And so, but they didn't ask to return them or anything. And then they gave me good feedback. So anyway, and a dinner fork. I love selling one fork for $20. That's what this one sold for. Oneida, Omni, the pattern is called Omni. What you want to look for in Oneida is this cube mark. That's generally a sign that it's part of their heirloom patterns, which are their more expensive, or were their most expensive. I think they still do those. But anyway, so, you know, sometimes you only find one piece. You know, it'd be nice to find a whole set of the heirloom, but if I find one piece, I pick them up because it's generally going to be a good, and dinner forks are going to be good. Sims fishing products, 100% wool. This was one of the items in our video about our profit pile, and we got that listed, and it sold for $26 fairly quickly. Like, you know, the profit pile video was only a couple of weeks ago. Sims is like a good fishing brand. Might not be like the highest prices, but it's a desirable brand. This was a good sale. I just picked these up at the thrift store. One day, Mr. Pish Posh and I were there, and I don't think we got anything else to sell. I think we got a couple things for ourselves, and I just happened to see these on the shelf. They were $10, and it was, shoes were half off that day, so I paid $5, and they were in such good shape. Like, we didn't have to do anything to them. The brand is Sperry. They're topsiders. The inside said Gold Cup. They were a size 11, very, very good condition, and they sold for $60. And like I said, I just picked those up a couple of weeks ago. Here's my sale from my thumbnail. Isn't this so exciting? So I did show these in a haul video one time. Again, just a couple weeks ago, I paid $50 at Goodwill for these. And it was one of those days I'm like, man, why didn't I bring anything to donate? I could have a 20% off coupon. It would totally have been worth it. But when I looked at comps on certain Red Wing boots, and then I found the exact model, Red Wing 8126, and I saw some like $300 selling prices, I was like, whoa. So I just want to say, oh, let me check something real quick. Okay, I think if I go back to this one, let me just talk about this one for a second again. I told you in the last video, that we started something new during this week to try to kind of pump up sales, because I just felt like we were struggling, you know, sales were just straggling along and kind of low priced items. And so what I had been meaning to do was to run a coupon. So I think I told you last time I had run a coupon on hats for like 40% and like sold 2 hats. But we remembered, like, we used to run like a long-term coupon in the store, 10%, like all the time. And then if we wanted to send an offer to a watcher, we would just make sure to offer 12% or 15 or 20% or 25% even if it was something that was old. And we have found that we've had so much more success with this type of thing. So our normal policy would be to list something, somebody watches it, we send a 10% offer, they might counter back with something else, and then hopefully we sell it, right? What I believe what happens is that there's a lot of people who might look at an item and they're like, the price isn't so great. They move on. Some people watch it, some people save it, a lot of people just keep looking, right? But if they come to your listing and there's an easy peasy 10% coupon, they don't have to do anything, they might be more inclined to just go ahead and buy it because they're getting some kind of discount, right? We haven't tried it by like doing, I mean, maybe we did, I just don't remember, but you know, we could possibly play around with like doing a 20% coupon right away, then not sending out any offers unless it's an old item that we just want to get rid of. So that's still some things I can play around with. Someone asked in the last video about coupons versus sales, and that might be something we'll play around with again, but in the past, historically, sales just never did well for us. Coupons came out, eBay released them, and I kind of have this belief that if eBay has a feature that they want you to use or tell you about, like you do, it's a good idea to try to use it, right? So they have the markdown, they have sales and things like that, but once coupons came out, I was like, hey, let's try a coupon. So anyway, it's been working. So as soon as I did the coupon, this sold. So those did not sell for $60. They sold $6 off. So $54 is what we got for those. Okay, so from this point is where the 10% coupon starts. Now the 10% coupon cannot be used in conjunction with an offer. So some items that you'll see were 10% and some were offers. So same thing, right after we sold the Sperry's, I got a message from a buyer in Denmark, and they said, would you ship to Denmark? And I double checked my listing, and I saw that we did have our international shipping set up, and it's through the eBay International Shipping Program. They were a new buyer, but because it's through the eBay program, I was not worried because eBay handles all returns. They handle, once it gets to them, you know, they handle everything from there. So if they have a problem with their order, they contact eBay, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what? This buyer is ready to buy, right? So he got 10% off. So it was $400 minus $40. And so $360, right? Yeah. So we sold them for $360. So well worth investing the $50 at Goodwill for those Red Wing boots. And we sold another hat. This one, let me see. Now I gotta open each one up. I'm pretty sure this one was just this was an offer. $15. We took that offer. I don't know why I ended up on, oh, it just stays on that photo. How funny. Okay, next one. My internet is kind of slow today. This Melita cone filter holder for pour overs. We sold a brown one not that long ago. So it was $15 minus the 10%, so $13.50. We sold this hat. And again, I think this hat might have been in the sale before, but it sold with a 10%, I'm pretty sure. So $50, this was a signed golf hat and signed by Ricky Fowler and sold with the extra 10% off on that one. Another hat, Hoyt Archery. This one's been listed a while, I do believe. That one had 10% off the $18.99. This was a set of knives. I did buy these in a case, but I think the case was just ended up not being in that great a condition. So we just pulled the knives out and listed those separately. And these sold for $20 in an offer. Vintage Sears Craftsman. Mr. Pishposh usually picks these up. Anything vintage Sears Craftsman, because there are diehards who still have the tools, the table saws and things like that, and it's harder to find the pieces, parts for them. So this sold for with the extra 10% off on the $30. I think same deal. Oh wait, maybe not. Hold on. Now I lost my place. Okay, but long live the chunky shoe fad. We want this fad to keep going a little bit longer. 90s shoes, Y2K, all that kind of stuff. The brand on these were Lower East Side. It turns out I sold the same exact pair about a year ago on Poshmark for like $30. We sold these for $55.99, and that was with an offer. Another hat that sold, and this one, I think this one was an offer, $18.74. And sold some flatware. I listed some flatware and I sold some flatware. So exciting. These were the 10% off on this one as well. Cambridge Townhouse. The brand is Cambridge. I don't get super excited about Cambridge flatware when I find it, but I have sold this pattern. It's called Townhouse. It sells really easily. So I've also this week sold the dinner forks that go with that, match it. And yeah, so it's just they're a heavy duty kind of set of flatware. Cambridge, otherwise I'm very picky about which Cambridge patterns I pick up. And Rae Dunn. Why in the world do I buy Rae Dunn? I don't know. I have a feeling I looked it up and like comps were not, I wasn't looking at them correctly. I don't know. I don't buy Rae Dunn anymore unless it's old, you know, unless it's her early stuff. But anyway, coffee bar, $12.74 is what this sold for. And this sold for $20. We took a half price offer on this one. It was another day where things were kind of slow. And we're like, you know, are we going to just sit here? Are we going to hold out for, you know, how long do we want to hold out, right? Somebody's offering me $20. Let's just take it. Also got an $18 offer on these. And yeah. Okay. That's what the person messaged us. All of a sudden I panicked. So this is what she was talking about. The person who bought them messaged us because Mr. Pishposh forgot the word without, right? So it says gently used with dings, chips, and cracks, right? He meant without dings, chips, or cracks. So they were like double checking that. So we clarified all that and then they bought it for $18. And here is another little brass and wood measuring tool I picked up at the clearance bins, thrift clearance store. And that sold for $19.99. This sold for $15. I'm probably minus the, let me see. Sorry. Yeah, we got the extra 10%. This was not worth listing necessarily, but it came from our bins clearance center. But, you know, you get $12 and then, you know, I don't know how long it took Mr. Pishposh to ship that. So not really worth it. It's the type of thing we're going to kind of avoid going forward. And some more accessories. We have this pair of vintage Levi's suspenders. Very cool. I didn't get a chance to get these cross-posted, but they did sell for $18.74. Now let's move over to Poshmark. Here's another sweater that was in the profit pile video that we showed you, Banana Republic. Sold for $28, which I think was a little bit higher than what they were going for on eBay. And Mr. Pishposh was so happy that I think I bumped the price a little on Posh and got a $28 offer and accepted that. A Wrangler Pearl Snap Western shirt, just kind of a brown plaid. Here's the label. I don't think it was vintage, but not, it's probably more like Y2K, like vintage. Sold for $25, about average for a Wrangler. This one I thought would do better. When it comes to spring and summer, you know, the fabrics you want to look for, one of the fabrics you want to look for is linen, and linen usually sells pretty well. So I had picked up this Land's End linen shirt, which I thought would do better than it did. And this has been listed quite a while. We weren't even living in our current place, I don't think. And so you know, over a year, I got a $15 offer and I said, oh yes, please just take it. Ralph Lauren, nice little sport coat. And it sold for $32. I think we grabbed that from the bins as well. Vintage weather guard. This one I thought would do better than it did. It's buffalo plaid, Sherpa lined. sold for 20. Horny Toad, that was in that profit pile video. Sold it for $22. It was so interesting because Horny Toad is not a great brand. I might even have said that it was like so-so in the video. And, you know, it was merino wool, which is what saved it. But we got watchers on eBay like right away. And so when I put it on Posh, I bumped the price a little bit. And so we ended up selling it for $22. I think I had it for 20 on, we had it for 20 on, eBay. I listed it for 24 on Poshmark. This was shown in that video as well. This women's goose down puffer vest, size extra large, sold for 30. So as you can see, a lot of these are fast sales. This I showed in a long ago haul video, you know, a couple months ago. A Robin Ruth, Connecticut ski beanie hat sold for 20. And then this was in the recent profit pile video as well. And do not underestimate the humble beanie. This sold for 30 bucks. So it does have this interesting concho at the top. And that sold, it was by Turtle Fur. And that sold for 30, like I said. Another blazer. This one was vintage J. Crew. You can see the older label. It was wool, nylon, mohair, made in Thailand. Sold for $48. Crimson Clover, another item from the profit pile, and look at it's Poshmark. It's a good thing I cross-post, right? So all these are Poshmark sales of this winter clothing. $40 for this sweater. Where I mentioned Crimson Clover as being, I think it's a Colorado company, but very much winter ski, that type of item. And then these have been listed forever. Now I have sold Michael Aram. I had sold some salad tongs earlier for a pretty good price. So it was just a name I kind of looked out for. And this is like a wedding cake knife serving set. I've had these listed well over a year. And I finally got a $20 offer and just said, let's part ways, Michael Aram. I would still pick them up, but I guess it would depend on the pieces. More people need salad tongs than they need a knife and cake server. This was also in that video. I keep saying that, but Poshmark and my profit pile are a match made in heaven here. So Joseph Aboud, my 100% cashmere scarf, sold for $18. And a pair of Merrell pull-on snow boots, probably because the weather is so nasty around the country. And speaking of my profit pile, like it's been so good that I've had that profit pile and that we did that video and we kind of got things going because we haven't been out and about, right? So it's been 2 weeks as of yesterday when my first 2 weeks. My first kid started to get sick. And it feels like way longer than that. Anyway, we've had 20 below, 30 below temperatures. Right now it's snowing. It's been snowing since nighttime, so we're already at like 6 to 8 inches, and it's supposed to snow all day. So we're not going out really, and I've got plenty to list, and it's selling, so that's awesome. This, I think I showed this in maybe the same video as the boots, right? Anyway, this came from the bins. It sold for 10 bucks. Nothing super exciting. I think if you have the pair, it might, they came in pairs, and that you might be able to get a little bit of a better price for that. And then look at the condition of this little children's book. I think if it's in good condition, you can get a pretty good price for it. But it is this well-loved 1932 children's book called The Tale of Coralie Crothers. And I think it's missing its cover, right? Oh, Ruby Lane. I just got the notice that they changed their format. Look at this. Oh, all the photos show like this now. This is amazing. All right, I am going to do an updated Ruby Lane video for 2024 coming up. I've got a list in my head of all this stuff to share with you guys. But there was scribbling on these pages and everything, but the pictures were still pretty good. And I could just picture if you could if you wanted to just take the cute little pictures and frame them for like a little girl's room or something like that. So that I got $15 for that. Let's move over to Etsy. I had 2 sales in the Flatware shop, and they were utensils, and they both went to the same person. So this Bakelite handled ladle, such a cool little style to that ladle, $16 for that one. And then a potato masher, like 80s and 50s, but this one sold for $15. The Pattern Shop, nice Renaissance costume sale for $25. And an Elvis costume for $30. This one I pulled out, I believe, I was pulling out some patterns that I think I had shown in my pattern video, and then I had never refiled them. And so I was looking through and I said, oh, this one never even got listed, and it's actually pretty well sought after. And then this is the thing to remember with this. This pattern, when I looked on eBay, I've been starting to cross-post the new patterns I'm listing. I'm putting on both eBay and Etsy. And I look at eBay pricing. Etsy pricing is usually higher. Well, even on eBay, this pattern had been selling for like $15 recently. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I knew this pattern had sold for higher in the past. So I looked on Terapeak, and I can show you how to do that sometime if you don't know. But if you have an eBay, I think you might have to be subscribed. But anyway, if you go to your seller hub, maybe not, you have access to Terapeak under the research tab, and it goes back 3 years. So I looked there and I saw that they were selling, this pattern had sold for $30. And so all it took was like people not doing that kind of research. So one person listed it at 15, it sold. So the next person sold it for 15, and the next person, right? So I put mine at 30 on both Etsy and eBay, and within a week it sold on Etsy for $30. And I don't know that there was another one on there at the time. So scarcity is good too. Then over in the vintage shop, $18 for this pottery mug that was made in Billings, Montana in 2001. Had this little mule on it. Here's something that Mr. Pish Posh in his early, I don't know, a while back, he was kind of into upcycling. So remember our little learner mail organizer things that we paint all different colors? We had painted one green, and so he decided to do that to this little thermometer because it had some issues with its finish and wasn't worth a ton anyway. And so he thought, with the leaf and everything, let's make that part green. So it's refurbished, it's upcycled, all that kind of thing. And somebody bought it for $28. I think we sold the shorter one of these. We had 2, a tall one and a short one, and the shorter one had already sold. This was the taller one, sold for $39. The brand was Gens. Again, that's how I say it. Made in Sweden. I just love the handle on these. It had this black, here, let me see, black like enamel, kind of very, very mid-century, very Scandinavian. Okay. That was a nice sale, $39. And this store, we hadn't had sales for a while in this store, and so it was nice to have like quite a few sales that week. $28 for this coffee grinder. I love coffee grinders. Really cool looking. And last but not least, a plastic mug. It's a vintage Hi-C plastic drinking cup. It was, it's signed. There was some promo with Lynn Swan from the Steelers. Anyway, 80s novelty. I am not a football person, so I don't know. Did the Steelers, I know there's playoffs. Are the Steelers doing good? I don't really care. But if you want to leave a comment down below, you can. And then we had one sale this weekend on Mercari for this knife sharpener by J.A. Henkel's. As you can see, it just sold for $9.19. Okay, so that's it. I need to go drink something for my dry throat. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed yesterday's I think I've got my timing of this right. Yesterday's shipping video, we're going to try to not only incorporate shipping videos into the what solds, but, you know, kind of release them here and there on their own as well. So leave me a comment down below. You know the drill. Let me know what sold in your world, what your favorite sale was, what item were you just glad to see gone. And we will see you hopefully feeling better by this weekend. Bye, everybody.